Okay. Welcome to our second or third office hours, part of our semi-regular series, hopefully to become more regular. We'll start with introductions and just kind of an overview of what we're going to be up to today. A quick instant reminder, though, if you are watching on our Google Plus events page, if you're watching on YouTube, there should be an overlay. If there's not, don't worry about it. But there should be an overlay for questions and answers. If you click that, it brings up a different view where you can ask us questions as we go. We're going to address those toward the end, so don't be surprised if we seem like we're not seeing it. We'll get to it. And if we don't answer anybody's questions today, obviously send them to us any way you want, and we will get to them somehow, and we'll reply in comments, and so on and so forth. So the introductions, I am Sean Connor. I'm the Director of Community Relations with Saylor Academy, and seated beside me,
hello, I'm Lindsay Murphy. I'm an Education Project Manager here at Saylor Academy.
Cool. So the overview of what we're going to talk about, and first of all, I want to also thank Lindsay, who agreed today, I think about a couple hours ago, to be part of these office hours. So and we were finalizing what we're going to talk about just recently. So if things are a little bit odd, that's kind of the nature of the game, and that's fine. So the overview we're going to talk about, we're going to go over learn.saylor.org, which is what we internally call new Moodle versus old Moodle, and that's where 93 of our courses now exist. We've been running kind of an open beta on that and gotten some really good feedback. We're going to be talking a little bit more about something we just addressed in our last office hours a couple months ago, the new certificates with our partner Accredible, and some developments with those. And then miscellaneous announcements after that, and dealing with, or really responding to questions. And we're looking to probably do this in about 20 or 25 minutes, hopefully. So without further ado, we will begin. If I talk too much, I'm going to run out of breath, so I'll turn it over to Lindsay at some point. But we'll start with a recap on our the learn.saylor.org soft launch, the open beta we've been running. So what have we learned? What have we changed since we first did it? What have we improved? On the technical side, caching, page caching. So it should be faster than it was a few weeks ago, and it should be considerably faster between the caching and between how we're hosting it on the server and just how everything's constructed than our older Moodle, which would sometimes take a while to load, even for us. We have been doing assorted tweaks, such as hiding unneeded elements, things that don't make sense for how we do courses. There's going to be a few of them still there, especially if you drill down into your profile in Moodle. If you find stuff that seems like it doesn't make sense, go ahead and let us know, and we will keep iterating on it. We are considering the mobile experience for Moodle more so than we have for our courses to date. So taking a full-length course wholly through a smartphone is totally doable. It's a bit of a challenge, but we're really working to make the site more naturally responsive and useful if you're even just browsing, but even if you're studying on a mobile phone or a tablet. And we are continuing the certificate development, which we'll get to shortly. Some critiques of the new Moodle. As we've been in open beta, we've wanted people to poke and prod and tell us what's working and not working. We will be working toward more granularity in terms of splitting units into smaller units. However, that is not right now our primary concern. We're really striving toward developing new content, tying systems together. You've noticed probably a proliferation of systems. We have school.saylor.org, we have learn.saylor.org, we have the older forums, which are mostly closed down, we have the newer forums, we have our website, and if you've been paying close attention, we have even a couple websites based on our GitHub repositories as well. So a really big priority for us in the next 2 months is to tie those things together, to make sure everything works, to mindfully spin down the things that are older and extraneous, preserve everything we need to preserve, and spin up the newer, better, more functional stuff for a much more integrated experience. And especially if you're new to Saylor Academy, that might be a bit confusing for you right now. Send us an email. We can help you. We can point you in the right direction, but we are working on it. Now the question, we've been in this open beta. When is it going to become official? So I'm thinking by late April. A big change that we'll announce pretty soon is that new enrollments in ePortfolio will reflect the courses, will primarily reflect the courses on learn.saylor.org. And so if you've already enrolled in courses on ePortfolio, they'll still be there. You can absolutely still continue taking the courses, but we're going to really be driving toward a clean distinction between the 93 courses on learn.saylor.org and the courses that will be primarily hosting and serving through our GitHub repository on a separate site, which we'll announce soon. So you're going to see some changes, not in the features of ePortfolio, but in the course catalog and in how we point you toward courses. And especially that's certainly for existing users and students. It's really for new students as well to make sure that you really understand sort of the Saylor ecosystem and know what you're getting into. So with that said, the next update is accredible certificates, which I think is still me, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I will do my best here. If you use the accredible certificates, they're really great. I think it's a cleaner experience when you complete a course on learn.saylor.org, and so those are only tying in right now, and will only ever tie into the courses on learn.saylor.org directly. So when you complete an exam on learn.saylor.org, you will get an email directly with your certificate. You can log on. You do not have to immediately create an account to claim your certificate, but you can do so. And then all your certificates will be listed there. They look a bit nicer. They can be downloaded as PDFs. They can be shared. They can go onto your LinkedIn profile and so on and so forth. And something that we are pretty excited about, excuse me, that we can't, is not quite official yet, is some of the things that we're doing to make the certificates more useful. And I'm running out of breath, excuse me. But we will be hopefully getting into a little bit of bundling of certificates, a little bit of breakdown into new evidence. And Nate had shared something that is happening here. Okay, so there's 3 new automated evidence items for the certificates, which is that you'll get a transcript of end-of-unit assessment scores. And actually, Lindsay, you can speak briefly to end-of-unit assessments because that's something that we have been changing recently.
Sure. So in the context of some of our course improvements that are ongoing now, we're working on incorporating assessments at the unit level. So each unit of courses going forward should have, at the very minimum, one sort of end-of-unit assessment that can be auto-graded through Moodle. So the completion of that assessment will trigger an evidence item for your credible certificate. As if you're familiar with many of our courses, they don't always have these unit assessments. So that's one of our points of development going forward, is that anytime we do development on a course, we want to make sure that at the end of that course development, all of the units have those unit assessments. Does that speak to what you were?
Yeah, that's great. So that'll be much more clearly reflected on Accredible. with the Accredible certificates. And also automatically enrollment date in the course. So when you enroll in the course, not through ePortfolio, perhaps through ePortfolio, I'm not actually quite sure about that, but certainly when you begin the course on learn.saylor.org, and then when you complete the exam, that will automatically be reflected with your Accredible certificate. And also it looks like a summary of Moodle auto-graded free response writing assignments, which is not for every course, but is for...
So in many of our courses, there are open-ended assessment items. You know, write a paper, pull together a couple of paragraphs on these topics, that sort of thing. So you always have the option, of course, of just writing them in a Word doc or whatever, you know, word processing or whatever, wherever you write things, and you still have that option. However, if you write that into the Moodle response boxes, which we're slowly populating as it makes sense in the course, basically when you get to that assessment item, let's call it, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a course that has one. I think there are some in Business 101, I believe. I can't remember right off the top of my head. In any case, when you get to an assignment that says, you know, write something, write X, you'll still have the option, of course, to just write it on your own or not doing it entirely if that's what you want to do. However, you also have the option in many cases now of putting your response into Moodle so that it lives then with your Moodle activities. And if you write that response into Moodle, the Accredible certificate can automatically pull that as an evidence item.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's great. So yeah, and we're playing with other ideas with the Accredible certificates. Your suggestions are always going to be welcome. There's never guarantees, and but we have a really good partnership. I found I'm mostly observing from sort of a third-party vantage point as other staff members work with Accredible, but there's neat stuff going on. I mentioned bundled certificates. We're just kind of looking at ways that maybe we could have certificates that reflect a small sequence of courses, or conversely, potentially certificates that reflect parts of a single larger course. If maybe taking a couple units or mixing and matching some units would make more sense for your particular learning case or whatever. So just keep an eye out for that. It's very much still in live development. Our older certificates were sort of one and done. We made the certificates, they're PDFs. You can upload them anywhere. You have the verification code, all of which is really great. But Accredible is going to be a lot more flexible and hopefully become more and more interesting. And already, of course, you can add them on your LinkedIn profile, and you can do all the normal sharing too. So I think I'm about to turn it back over to Lindsay, because we have reached the point in our office hours where we talk about improvements to courseware, which is basically what I know almost nothing about.
All right. So we've been working on some courseware improvements with our team of consulting professors for about 2 months now. They've been underway. So I've been focused primarily on about 20 courses that we're preparing for some credit reviews, some external credit reviews. I won't get into too much detail with the credit reviews, but the reviews are happening in 3 phases over the summer. And before September or so, we hope to be able to announce a number of new credit opportunities based on our existing courses. Of course, that's entirely contingent upon the credit recommending body favorably reviewing them for credit. So there's no guarantees there, but we've successfully had courses recommended for credit previously, and so we're confidently optimistic that we will have a number of new credit recommendations come summer. So the course improvements have been focused, like I said, to prepare those courses for the credit reviews. And they're in several areas. And the updates and reviews happen. The updates and reviews happen no matter what, whether or not the credit is recommended or not. So the courses will be better. They are becoming better as we speak. So those areas of improvements have been focused primarily on two places. One is to make the courses completely open, openly licensed. So our hopes there are to minimize and eventually entirely eliminate broken links in our courses. That is, as you may know, if you're working through a course and you come across a broken link or missing content, it can be a real boondoggle. So we have been working really hard on getting all of the content open so that we can host it and eliminate broken links entirely. Additionally, there are a few places where we've had our consulting faculty review the courses and indicate that the resources, although they may be open, aren't quite meeting the educational needs of that particular place in the course. So we've also been working on swapping in better resources in those instances. So in addition to the content replacements, we're also working on updating and adding additional assessment items. I mentioned that previously on the context of the accreditable certificates, but all of the courses, so all 20 courses that we submit for the credit reviews will have assessments at the unit level. Those assessments will be primarily administered through the Moodle assessment engine. And in addition to just adding assessment, which is a great place for you to test out what you're learning, these assessments will include feedback. So if you go to any of the end of unit assessments for, I think, Math 121, which is our statistics course, in the learn.saylor.org environment, you can see what the feedback looks like. Basically, you take the assessment and the correct or incorrect answer that you've selected is explained why it's correct or incorrect. So we've asked our consulting professors to do that extra step to help people sort of work through the material and identify the stumbling blocks for them. So you can see that, like I said, in MA 121. You can also see some examples in Physics 101. Both of those would be in the learn.saylor.org environment, not on regular saylor.org. And I think that pretty much covers where we are currently with the course improvements. And this is the nature of improvements I hope to be able to continue doing throughout, beyond the summer, beyond these credit recommendations. So if there are other things that we should be focusing on, we'd love to hear them. I'm really excited about the unit assessments, well, the assessments in general.
Yeah, those have been a long time coming and a long time needed, and it's something that that's been a regular part of student feedback. You know, we don't hear it every day, but we hear it periodically and have heard it, and it's a matter of now we've got the time, we've got the energy, we've got the focus on what needs to get done. So we're pretty excited about that. Which, going back to, you know, that's we'll talking briefly sort of about our loose roadmap for the next few months. That's why, for instance, you know, some incidental changes might take a little longer to come. Bigger changes are happening behind the scenes on the pedagogical side of things and on the technical side of things. Truly a big piece of what we want to do is simplify and condense, and that's going to mean mindfully shutting some things down that are still running, and that's what's confusing. We're sort of the necessary conflicts with the ideal in this case, where, you know, it's necessary to get learn.saylor.org up, it's necessary to bring in new forums, it's necessary to make some sort of security upgrades that our colleague John talked about a couple months ago in our office hours. But at the same time, we're not ready to, you know, shut down or marry all the systems. So it's something that we're actually working pretty hard at, and definitely keep an eye out for announcements soon on that. I also just want to say that, you know, you've probably noticed we talk a lot about credit recently, and that is meaningful to a lot of you, and I think it's less meaningful to some of you. And the reason I think that it's a good thing that we're working toward these credit recommendations is that it definitely drives improvement to the courses, and the credit recommendation is a really nice proof point. You know, something that you get with Saylor Academy is even if you're not taking the proctored exam, you're taking the same course. When you take the open exam, you're taking substantially the same exam, same questions, same developers, same level of rigor as the course and exam that are recommended for credit. So whether or not that's what you need, everybody is getting the benefits from that. And if you're using courses, really just for fun, I guess there's some extra peace of mind in there. If you're using courses to for your resume, if you're using courses to know more about your particular job or to move into another job, these things can really help you too. So obviously, we have 93 courses. We're not driving toward credit on all 93 of them, but we're looking to improve kind of in that column and also take what we learn there and push it into the other courses too. More end of unit assessments, better resources, more mobile friendly, all of that. That said, I kind of want to, this is something we decided today, unveil the mission statement that we've been hammering on. Recently, we had an all-staff meeting 3 weeks ago, something like that, where we came up with a new mission statement. If you really, really want to, you can go to saylor.org/mission and see our old mission statement. I personally advise against it because we're really happy with this one. So by comparison, it's not going to look so hot. But the new mission statement, and I won't read everything because there's some supporting paragraphs of it, is, in one sentence, Saylor Academy's mission is to open education to all. So that is our broad, high-level, aspirational mission statement. That's what we as a staff agreed is a common value, not just kind of in our space, in our industry, but a common value for us as staff members and why we work for Saylor in the first place. And we think a common value for most, if not all, of our students. We have some supporting materials. Maybe I'll save that for later, unless, do you want to have any comments on this? Or I think you worked on this more than I did, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add. I don't think we'll post this to our site soon.
Yeah, I think we'll post it today. We'll do it after that.
So
we'll have
a second unveiling later today. But our mission is to open education to all. We spent a lot of time figuring out the prepositions and whether or not we had them right. And but the thing that we didn't really equivocate on at all was the open education and the all part. I think those were those two aspects, that it's open and it's for everyone, were really, really critical and quickly came to the forefront as like, this is what we're here for. So it took us an hour to figure out the preposition, but the meat of it was really, it's there. It was there.
Cool. Yeah, and you'll see the bullet points underneath saylor.org/mission later today, maybe an hour or two. I don't know. We're gonna hit before we close out, and we're close to closing out. We're gonna hit a couple questions that we already had from the Google Plus event page, and we'll see what else has turned up since we have been looking at a document here and not at the Hangout screen directly. But we heard from Brittany, who has used Saylor courses for a pretty long time now. She asks, will Saylor be working on an app anytime soon? And continues, I think a simple app that would allow students to log in and read through study materials on the go would be useful. It could also be another way to access the forums and connect with other students. So I'll try not to, I wrote out an answer. I'll try not to read it verbatim because that's bad form in public speaking. But so the short answer is no, we're not going to work on an app. The reason for that is kind of what we've already alluded to. There is a lot of tuning, a lot of tinkering to be done. And so a lot of our resources in terms of time, money, staff, everything is going toward that tinkering and tying everything together. The longer answer, though, which we also kind of alluded to, is that with Moodle and then also turning back towards our sites. We're really looking to improve the mobile experience overall with just the normal website, so using a mobile browser. Sort of slightly off topic, that's something that is kind of just cropping up now, where a lot of web apps are trying hard to essentially take over that mobile app space, or you're getting a lot of more hybrid approaches. So for instance, the platform for our new forums, which is a very new platform, it's really only a couple years old at this point, does not have any kind of native mobile app for it. Instead, the intention of the developers of Discourse, which is the platform we use, is that it should be responsive, it should be usable, it should be friendly right out of the box on mobile. So it's as if you're using a mobile app, but not. We have some tuning to do in terms of like getting, the sign in right. It's kind of hard to sign in to pretty much anything. If you're using a mobile browser, even to sign into apps can be frustrating. You usually just want to do it once and then be done with it. So those are things to think about. There is an app from the, I think, Moodle.org Foundation. Don't quote me on that, but you can find it certainly on the Android store, maybe in the Mac App Store as well. Our site currently does not work with it. Our learn.saylor.org site doesn't work with it because of our system for handling logins. So I don't know that that's something we're going to try to work with. More broadly, though, if someone were to create and especially open source an app that worked well with our learn.saylor.org content, or that worked well with the content that we're going to be announcing really, really soon that we have on our GitHub repositories, that we would look seriously at adopting it, or at the very least at sharing it and talking about it. So part of my hope, and we addressed this a little bit in the last office hours too, is that there will be a broader spirit of kind of experimentation in-house, but especially with the community of learners, and more tinkering, more creation, more sharing, what have you. So the longer answer is we're not going to build an app ourselves, almost certainly, at least not in the near term. But if someone wants to do it, please have at it, and we'd love to see it. Cindy writes, are the offered courses chosen on career earnings potential, popularity, available materials, or desire to offer or mimic the courses one would see at a traditional university? And regarding that, we're not traditional, so why not flaunt it? We should offer avant-garde courses. So alongside Try College 101, we could offer Try Online College, Online Activism, Internet Politics, etc. And actually, Lindsay, do you want to speak a little bit about the reasons for like how we chose our full slate of courses originally?
Sure. So our original founding sort of reason was to make the college education, college experience free. So in that vein, we chose the 10 most popular majors by enrollment in the US and built out the courses to support those majors, to support the degree programs, which is how we got to our nearly 300 courses. We eventually added a few additional majors that weren't in the top 10, and then added some professional development and other sort of not specifically academic or not traditionally academic course areas, and then K-12, of course, too. So the sort of mimicking of the traditional university courses was intentional. And as we've then trimmed our focus back to the 100 or so courses on learn.saylor.org, we've worked to add those, make the ones that are most popular and the ones that make the most sense to teach in an online environment where we focus on. Having said that, well, I think that's where I'll stop.
Okay, cool. That I think that covers sort of the first paragraph and beyond of what I had written down for this. Yeah, and so my comment then on the course suggestions is that those are timely and interesting and outstanding suggestions. They're courses I'd like to see. They're courses I'd like to take. So right now we're really heavily invested in tinkering with that subset, and I think, you know, frankly, and I'd say this about a number of things. You know, there's often going to be other groups, and actually I would say this. Well, you know, in terms of some courses that we originally chose not to do, you know, part of the thinking was there are other groups out there that either are already doing it better or that will do it better, that can do it better, and we want to sort of encourage that and focus on our strengths. That said, there's increasing collaboration and partnership sort of among organizations in our space, and that's courses like that are the sort of thing that I think we'd be happy to contribute some of our expertise toward. I think they're things that we'd be happy to work with a partner on. And very generally speaking, if there are partners out there that have a particular need, you know, we don't necessarily have the resources to just make that happen right away because we're focusing on what we're focusing on. But if there's a good idea, if it's timely, if there's a need for it, and if it fits within the mission which we unveiled to the world a few minutes ago, it's something we're always interested in talking about. So there's really nothing impossible. We just try to focus and be clear on what's likely in the near term. So with that said, I don't see other questions that have been added. If you do have questions, you can add them to our Google Plus events page. You can always get in touch with us. Social media, by email is really good. And that's how we're going to wrap up. In fact, I'm going to make a couple of pitches, one for something that we're tentatively calling the mailbag. I'm going to turn and look at Mike, who's off camera here, because that was kind of his idea. But it's a good idea where, you know, we'll do these office hours. It's been a couple months since we did the last one. I think every month is probably a better rate to go at. But handling some of the questions that are somewhere between office hours and, you know, the standard set of frequently asked questions, there's a lot of questions in that zone between that we can respond to directly. So if you'd be interested in having your question read on video, we wouldn't do it live, I think, but we would post these to our YouTube channel, to our site. Send us a question that you have about Saylor with mailbag in the subject or in the content of the email itself. And that's fine. And we'll also be pulling from emails that we get anyway to see what sort of typical questions we can answer. But we're not going to, you know, read someone's name. If you've sent us an email, that's obviously between us. We're not just going to read that out on video all of a sudden. So I also want to make a pitch for the new community page, saylor.org/community. The old one, I can say it because I made it, was not something I was that impressed with. The new one has a lot of the same content, some new content, but it's formulated a bit better. There's some student stories on there. You can call them testimonials, you can call them stories, whatever. We're really excited about those. We sent out a big blast email a few days ago, and we've sent out some blog posts, and we've actually gotten good responses. You'll be seeing those on the site soon. If you have something you'd like to share with us and share with everyone about what your learning means to you, how, you know, learning with Saylor Academy has been helpful toward that, we would really, really love to hear it. It's actually very helpful to us furthering our mission and us proving our impact and just essentially doing what we do. And frankly, it's helpful to staff. Like, we actually really, really enjoy hearing those things, and we share them internally. So, and it definitely brightens any day that those things come in. So yeah, hit the /community page. And finally, from the /community page, that's kind of like a dashboard where you can get to our email, social media, this and that. If you have not yet, definitely check out our forums. There's about 1,000 people who have enrolled in the new forums. I'd say there's about 100 or so who have really engaged at some level. So some people, they make, you make your account and you sort of read what's going on, and that's fine. But a lot of these, questions that you may have based on these office hours, questions that you may have for us, a lot of people have already asked them in the forums, and it's not that we don't want you to ask them, but there are kind of open and interesting and pretty in-depth conversations happening in the forums. You can read them even without registering, so that's just, you can find it from saylor.org/community, or you can go to discourse.saylor.org and find out what's going on there and see what a roadmap is and ask us questions, and we're always happy to discuss. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lindsay, say our goodbyes, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Okay.